This episode of Bards and Cards features Emily Dickinson. Emily Dickinson was an American poet. She lived in Amherst, Massachusetts, was born in 1830, and died in 1886. Although she wasn't well known as a poet during her lifetime, she has become regarded as an important figure in American literature. She spent much of her adult life in isolation, and many of her friendships were strictly by correspondence. I'm reading from the collected works of Emily Dickinson, and from the dust cover, there's this description: a searing strength of language and an economy of words which recalls Oriental literature overshadow the vivid but gentle lyricism of most of her anthologized work. Emily Dickinson was sometimes mild, but often bitter, sometimes unworldly, and at other times resentful of her lack of recognition, sometimes fragile, but occasionally sharply critical of superficial gentility. She was a person and a poet of scope and diversity, but has seldom been represented as such to the general public. Incredibly, she combines an almost negligible worldly experience with an intense understanding of life and human feelings. So now I will read some of her poetry. I want to start with a favorite and well-known one. This is poem number 288. I'm nobody, who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell, they'd advertise, you know. How dreary to be somebody, how public, like a frog, to tell one's name the livelong June to an admiring bog. And now as I was going through my book, I found one that really struck me. I'd like to read this one too. It's number 613. They shut me up in prose, as when a little girl they put me in the closet, because they liked me still. Could themselves have peeped and seen my brain go round, they might as wise have lodged a bird for treason in the pound. Himself has but to will, and easy as a star abolish his captivity, and laugh. No more have I. And now I think I will just go randomly. How about 664? Of all the souls that stand create, I have elected one, when sense from spirit files away, and subterfuge is done, when that which is and that which was, apart, intrinsic stand, and this brief drama in the flesh is shifted like a sand, when figures show their royal front, and myths are carved away. Behold the atom I preferred to all the lists of clay. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Dickinson. And now we'll move on to the cards portion of this episode. And now I am using the Emily Dickinson Tarot deck. This was created by 5 different artists, one for each of the 4 suits and for the one for the major arcana. I will say this is not an easy tarot deck to read with. If you are new to tarot and thinking about getting your first deck, do not start with this one. It is delightfully quirky and complex, just as Miss Dickinson herself seems to have been. So I will ask, please, Miss Dickinson, do you have a message that you could convey to those of us who appreciate your poetry? very much. Let's see. So we have the Garden of Wands. We have Temperance. And we have the House of Pentacles. Right. So if you have any familiarity with tarot, you can see how different this is. The Knight of Wands really is very passionate. It's creative. It's an artistic drive. Temperance is about being nice and steady, no extremes, keeping everything moderate, everything in moderation. And the House of Pentacles is about new, starting something new. This could relate to the page in a standard tarot deck. So what I see from this is get in touch with your creativity, get in touch with your passion, but remember to temper it with practicality, because Pentacles are very much about the material world, the mundane needs of life. So do honor your creative side, your passionate side, but don't forget the practical side. That's exactly what Temperance is saying. But notice the Garden ranks a little bit higher, just a little bit higher than the House in this deck. So keep everything in balance, but allow yourself to be creative and passionate a little more than purely practical. I like that message very much. So, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy Emily Dickinson's poetry as much as I do, and I hope you enjoyed this reading too. Please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much.